Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have the final of these brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory Epic Evolution Wild Roar figures. We've got the Parasaurolophus. I've loved the fact that with this brand new line, Mattel kind of went all out when it comes to giving us brand new sculpts of every species. You know, when I first saw these listed, I thought, oh man, we already had all of these species. I was hoping for like new species of some kind, but I'm really glad that Mattel did give us these because they went and gave us all brand new sculpts for all of the species. And again, so far they all seem to be a nice improvement, I think. But this time we'll have to check out the Parasaurolophus, which looks pretty fun, although I can instantly see something is wrong with mine. If you look right here, it looks like the upper part of the beak has detached from the head, and I don't know why. I'll have to, once I get it out of the package, before we take the closer look maybe, or even after, I don't know, I'll try to see if I can fix that. But it doesn't look good right there. But you can see the packaging again. It's pretty much your standard when it comes to these type of figures. And then here on the back, you can see the full body image of the Parasaurolophus. And again, the checklist down here showing off the species that are in the line, which is the Majungasaurus, the Pachyrhinosaurus, and Ceratosaurus, all of which we now have reviewed here on the channel. So let's pop this box open and check out the final entry of the first round of Wild Roars for the Chaos Theory line. So here is our Parasaurolophus, which looks pretty darn nice for the most part, except for, again, whatever's going on up there in the face. But sculpt-wise, I think it looks really good. I love that nice, elegant curve to the tail. That is really cool. And the fine detail on this one looks excellent yet again. This is honestly a figure that I really want to give the original Jurassic Park colors to, because I feel like it, for the most part, replicates a Jurassic Park Parasaurolophus very nicely, probably better than any Mattel figure that we've had so far, and I would say even better looking when it comes to the overall appearance matching the Jurassic Park styles, Jurassic Park version. I would say it's better than the Hammond Collection version, but again, it looks really good, except for this area. Whatever happened to it is not good news, and I'm intrigued to see that we have an articulated jaw on it, but because of whatever's happening here to the face, the jaw's not working for me, so I'm going to have to try to, I guess, use a little hot water or something to open that mouth. But overall, it looks nice. Definitely could have used a little bit more paint again out onto the tail, but as far as the figure goes, I think here at first glance it does look really nice, so let's jump to a closer look at it and check it out from there. So I was going to try to fix this before we got the closer look, so we have the ability to open the mouth and everything and look in there. But I think I'm just going to keep it the way it is for the time being, because I really want you guys to see what the figure looks like straight out of the box, especially if this is, in fact, like a widespread issue for the Parasaurolophus, which I'm not saying it is, and I would hope it's not, but just in case it is, I do want you guys to see what it looks like so you can see how it's kind of damaged straight out of the box, and actually looks pretty terrible when it comes to that. You know, if this were correctly placed and looking nice, I think the figure as a whole would probably be one of the best Parasaurolophus, if not the best Parasaurolophus that we've had from Mattel, but this is definitely a problem. It looks like the tongue is painted in there. I kind of see like a pink for the tongue, which is nice. It's just unfortunate that the mouth is like so... Push it open. All right, we did get it open. So we can take a look at the inside, and you can see we do have a, you know, nice pink tone in there. We've got the tongue sculpted out, and not really too much going on in the inside and the upper side. I guess the jaw was just a little stiff. Now it seems to be moving pretty decently, but I really got to get that fixed. As you move up into the upper part of the head, though, I will say it does look nice as far as the sculpt goes. You can see the nostrils, you can see a nice brown tone running from the beak all the way up into the crest, and the detailing within the crest does look really good. Definitely looks nice as a whole. You can see the brown for the beak is also on the lower jaw. As you lead back into the face, we have that yellowish tone, again, that kind of classic Jurassic Park yellowish tone for the Parasaurolophus. The eye is painted with a black. It's not absolutely perfectly placed. You can see a little bit of sloppiness to it, but it's okay for what it is. There's definitely a very clear speckling on this figure, which you can kind of see showing up here and there on the face. The skin texture does look nice here. Maybe not the most impressive, but decent for what it is. You can see the ear as you move back. You start to pick up some purplish tones here as you lead along. Right behind the crest, you could see a purple, like a lighter purple, running down along the spinal column of the Parasaurolophus. You also have a darker purple leading down that kind of stripes down, kind of similar to what you see on the Jurassic Park Parasaurolophus, but this figure is meant to have like a bioluminescence, so I guess it's more of like, the, of course, Chaos Theory, but Camp Cretaceous as well, version of a Parasaurolophus. As you lead down, you can see the skin texture looks really nice here in the neck region. Very nice, impressive scale detail. We can see more of the speckling moving down. The throat also looks nice. You've got some creasing right here under the lower jaw of the Parasaurolophus, and again, the throat looks good moving down. No alternate coloration down there, though. There isn't any articulation whatsoever in the neck of the dinosaur, which is a little different. You'll usually have some form of articulation in the neck of a Mattel figure, but I guess not all the time. Definitely not in this Parasaurolophus. As you move along the back, you can see the detailing continues to look nice moving through. There's a little bit of a different shade of purple to the button here on the back, which is intriguing. But as you move down here into the side, again, the skin texture looks epic. It looks so nice, very impressive, as always when it comes to Mattel. Moving down into the front limb, you can see the muscle definition looks nice. There's more of that speckling leading down. You've got the fingers sculpted really nicely, the nails sculpted nicely if it would focus on it. Unfortunately, again, no actual nail paint or anything, but they look good for what they are. There's like a few speckles right there that almost makes it look like there's a face on his knuckles right there, which is so funny. He has like two eyes and a mouth. I don't know if I'm the only one seeing that, but that's actually really funny. Articulation wise, of course, you have the ability to move the arm back and forward. It is incredibly jerky, not really all that smooth. You can move it out away from the body as well. I like that there's a nice curve to the hand right there, again, because the dinosaur is kind of balancing on the knuckles there as it walks along. I forget exactly where it was. Somewhere in there, it's basically balancing on its knuckles. As you move back, again, the skin texture in the stomach, like we said, looks really nice. As you lead up here, you can kind of make out the hip bone right there. Moving down, you have a little bit more of that purple designing and patterning down here into the thigh. The muscle definition, again, looks really good, and I love that there's a very different type of skin texture moving along, different type of scale detail moving along the front of the thigh compared to the back of the thigh. Back here, we have more like creasing rather than scales, whereas up here, we have much more vibrant scales. As you lead down, you've got the knee right there. You also have a nice big bulging calf muscle, and then, of course, a foot sculpt down here, which looks pretty good. You can see that the nails, of course, are not painted, but again, have that kind of gloss coat to them, which helps them shine a little bit, but at least we have like speckling very much so abundantly through the course of this figure. Like you can really see it all over, especially if you look over there at the opposing leg. It's everywhere. That doesn't look too bad. No swivels in the ankles or anything on any of these figures. And again, articulation wise in the leg, you can go back, forward, very, very smooth, very nice in that area. And oddly enough, we can't go out away from the body on the Parasaurolophus. It's very strange the way that this articulation has been working on these new figures. But as you lead up here into the tail and you lead out, you can see the skin texture continues to look absolutely epic. Again, very different type of skin texture for the underside compared to what we have up here on the upper side. And as you lead out, there is a swivel to the tail, but it's halfway through the tail, so it's like super random. Normally, like a Mattel dinosaur's tail would kind of attach here, and then it would swivel, so it's not the worst thing, but here it's just like in an awkward, beyond awkward spot for the tail to kind of articulate and move like that. But again, like I said, I really like the curvatures of the tail. You don't often see Mattel give their dinosaurs such an impressive curve to the tail, which I think really does look very nice on this figure. As we lead over here to the opposing side, of course, you're going to see pretty much the same thing, at least as far as the body goes. The only real difference here would be the limbs, and you can see the arm is in definitely a little bit of a different position on this side compared to the initial side. Not super different, but definitely different enough. And the leg is trailing on this side compared to leading on the other side, which also, again, looks pretty nice. Same type of paintwork, same type of sculpt, just different positioning overall. But everything else looks pretty close to the same. The tail does curl away from us, but not really causing too much of a different look on this side. Again, the only downside to this one, I think, is this area up here that is completely destroyed currently, so I'm going to have to try to fix that at some point, but we'll get to that I guess, near the end of the review. And again, still a very cool Parasaurolophus. Hoping that if I can't fix this, I can find another one, because I would love to get one in better shape. And then, like I said, maybe glue that on or something and then repaint this to look like the original Jurassic Park version. Now, what's interesting is it seems pretty clear to me that there's not going to be any sort of like an actual action feature with this one. It's going to basically, I think, just be the bioluminescent light up feature. But before we get to that, I do want to give you guys the Jurassic Facts code, because if I don't, I will forget. But there is the code for the Parasaurolophus if you'd like to add it to your collection. But I'm very intrigued to see this bioluminescent action feature. So I think what we're actually going to do is just dim these lights a little bit so it's a little more obvious. So it was a pretty nice noise, but we really couldn't see the light up aspect too well. So I'm going to dim the lights entirely, and then if it's dark enough, maybe we'll see it a little better. Okay, now we can definitely see it. You could see it lights up on another level once the lights are dimmed. It's actually very similar to the Epic Attack kind of light up feature that those figures have. It definitely looks cool. Let's see if we can turn these lights on and then kind of position them away so they're just not as obvious. There we go. I think you can see it a little better now without it being too dark. Wow, that does look really neat. So, honestly, I've been kind of wanting Mattel to give us that bioluminescent style Parasaurolophus for quite a while. Really happy that they finally did. It definitely looks really neat. As far as a size goes, lengthwise from the beak to the tail, about 11¼ inches or around 28½ centimeters. So it is a little bit shorter than most of the other wild roars we've had. Height-wise, the highest point is the tail, about 5 inches or around 13 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our Parasaurolophus, and you can see it does still have a pretty nice size to it, though I am definitely thinking it's a little bit smaller than our previous Parasaurolophus, and to check that out, so there is our older version of the Parasaurolophus next to our newer version, which you can see they are actually similar in size. The newer one is just more sleek, more slender, but the older one has more body mass. Similar, I would say, in size, though, between the two. And honestly, again, I think the newer one is light years nicer as far as the sculpt goes compared to the older one. But it was nicer to see paint run all the way out onto the tail with the older one. And here we have a comparison with the Hammond Collection version of the Parasaurolophus. And you can definitely see, again, as I was saying, I think the newer one just generally looks better. It looks closer to the actual maquette from Jurassic Park, which I think is one of the reasons why I like this one so much. It also has a strong resemblance to the old Kenner version of the Parasaurolophus, especially in the head sculpt. So, again, I really am quite happy with this new version of the Parasaurolophus. And since this is in the Wild Roar size range, I don't feel like we really need to have another comparison, any other comparisons outside of the ones we've done. And then, of course, this, which is the final comparison I think I'll do for this Parasaurolophus, which is all of the figures from this wave next to each other. We have the Pachyrhinosaurus Parasaurolophus, the Majungasaurus and Ceratosaurus all standing here before us, giving you an idea of how these figures all size up next to each other. And again, just really fun to see them all finally released, as we've been waiting months to see these in person, and they're now finally here. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory Parasaurolophus is pretty fun. It's not great, but it's not bad. And I think it actually would be close to being really good if mine didn't come damaged. I think that's the only thing that's kind of, bumming me out a little bit as far as the figure goes. But moving past that, again, hopefully that's just an isolated incident with mine, and that's not something that's common with all of the others. And again, definitely hoping to get mine fixed. But the sculpt of this Parasaurolophus, in my opinion, is absolutely the best one we've had so far. It's better than any of the mainline versions. I like it better than the Hammond Collection version. I think it just generally looks way better, and I wish they'd actually go back and revisit the Hammond Collection version and give it this sculpt, and then of course just articulate it like the Hammond Collection version had, because I feel like it's far more accurate, far more screen accurate to any of the Jurassic franchise Parasaurolophus that we've seen, more so than any Mattel figure that we've had in the past. And I think it also sports some of the nicest fine detail of any Parasaurolophus in the Mattel line on top of everything. The paint is pretty nice, but not great. I don't think any of the figures in this entire wave have had paint jobs that I would say are great, but this is probably one of the nicer ones. It's just still sad to see the paint end before the tail. I really would have liked to have seen some paintwork run out onto the tail. The articulation is pretty smooth. Again, it doesn't have the ability to move the rear legs out away from the body, which like half of this line did, half of this line didn't, but it's not the end of the world. The action feature, which is the Bioluminescence, is really cool though. Definitely something that I'm happy to finally see arrive on a Mattel Parasaurolophus, and I think they did a pretty good job of it. Of course, it doesn't look perfectly like the Bioluminescence that you see in the show, but I think as far as capturing that on a toy, they probably did as good as they could. But overall, it is a very fun figure, like every one from this wave has been, so if you are interested in picking one up and adding it to your collection, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that on Big Bad Toy Store. So make sure you check that link, go grab this very cool figure, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching. So a little update for you guys, a little after the review update, because I went ahead and attempted to fix my Parasaurolophus, and you can see it looks much nicer now, much better, and the articulated jaw and everything still works really nicely. All I basically had to do, so if you do end up with that issue, the same issue I had, all I had to do was slip some Gorilla Glue inside the kind of crack right there, and then hold this down. It did take a little while before it actually set, so I ended up putting a clamp on the mouth right there, and then held it in, and again, it looks miles better now compared to the way it looked before. So if you do end up with that issue, just use a little Gorilla Glue, which is this, and then just slide some in. I used a toothpick to kind of push some into the inside of the crack there, and glue it down. Again, hold it down for a little bit, and your Parasaurolophus, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, I think it looks as good as new.